So whenever I tell people that I'm going skiing in Canada, everybody usually says, Whistler? Like it's the only place they know. Unfortunately, I mean, I've been to Whistler several times, and I'm a little disillusioned in Whistler because it's, well, number one, it's way too expensive now, especially now that they got bought out by Vail. Also, it's too close to the ocean. I mean, it's humidity in the air, rain. I've been hit by rain, 3 days of rain in a row. Fog. The worst fog I've ever experienced anywhere was at Whistler. It got so dark that it was almost like nighttime. I mean, the fog was so thick that it blocked the sunlight. Also, it's not a village anymore. You know, it used to be a kind of a village. If you not really ski in, ski out, because you still had to walk through the pedestrian village. But now it's grown into more of a town. And if you want to stay in the more affordable lodgings, then you have to take a bus to the pedestrian village before you can start skiing. So it's just overgrown, too big, too expensive, and too humid. I much prefer skiing in eastern British Columbia, central and eastern. There's some wonderful ski areas, all of them with ski in, ski out villages, literally own mountain villages where you can ski in at lunch, ski out after lunch. Places like Big White, Silver Star, Sun Peaks, Apex, Revelstoke, Kicking Horse, Panorama, Kimberley, Fernie, you name it. There's a lot of fantastic places there. But I have skied all of them too. So on this particular trip, I was looking for the less well-known hidden gems. A few of them do happen to be smaller, but quite frankly, a lot of them are not so well known, not because they're small, but simply because they're a little remote location, you know, hard to find, whatever. But as you will see in this video, they are all well worth visiting, and I highly recommend at least a few of them. There will be a recommendation at the end of this video. Sasquatch. So it rained most of the way here, but then the last 15 miles or so the road starts climbing steeply up, and the temperature went down from 41 gradually all the way to 32. The rain turned to snow, and here we are, Sasquatch. There are two hills. That one there is mostly blue. That one there is mostly black. Unfortunately, it's soaked in fog, so we can't see it very well from here. All right, let's have some fun. There's the view ahead. And so this whole hill is probably by itself it's bigger than Anthony Lakes. Definitely a lot more vertical. I think Anthony Lakes is about 900 vertical feet. This one is probably around 1,400, and that's this one hill. And then of course there's the other hill over there, which is another time and a half bigger than Anthony Lake. So 1.5 there, maybe 1 3/4 over on this side. So that's at least 3 times as big as Anthony Lakes. All right. And notice all the wonderful tree skiing. Wowee. So the ladies go here and the men's go there. So Sasquatch is a fun place to ski, but all day long I just couldn't help feeling that I'm being watched or something, you know, like, what? Ah! Well, it was good while it lasted, but eventually it warmed up and the snow turned to rain, so it's time to beat a hasty retreat to the motel, and we'll ski some more tomorrow. Okay, Manning Park is the official name of the ski area, Manning Park Ski Area, but apparently a long time ago it was called the Gibson Pass Ski Area. So on the highway you still see just the name assigned for Gibson Ski Area. And at first I thought, oh, are there 2 ski areas here? No, it's just Manning Park. And there's one hill, I don't know if you can see it, it's very tiny in the distance. That's the longer of the 2 hills. It's called the Orange Chair, and I'm standing here on top of the Blue Chair, which serves a different hill. The Orange Chair there is longer and has more powder runs, more trees, longer cruisers, a little bit more of everything. But on the other hand, this chair has just stopped. This Blue Chair is pretty challenging too. This run right under the chair is a black. So Sasquatch is west of Hope toward Vancouver, and Manning Park is east of Hope, and Manning Park has a little bit more vertical, like I think 100 feet more vertical than Sasquatch. The snow seems to be drier, it's a little bit colder, and the prices are probably maybe about 2/3 what they are at Sasquatch. So that's a welcome thing. Overall, I'm enjoying Manning Park. By the way, both Manning Park and Sasquatch have relatively old slow chairs, which is fine. After all that powder and steepness, you need some respite. But they both have these lifts with a nutcracker in the middle. Yeah. I skied out of bounds here. That orange sign is a boundary sign, and these are my tracks here. So I skied out of bounds, maybe only a foot or 2. Just couldn't resist those little trees over there. Don't call them restrooms, they're washrooms. Well, here we are, Harper Mountain, only 30 minutes from Kamloops. The temperature is minus 9 degrees Fahrenheit. Cold. How do you remember Harper Mountain? Remember that song? Harper Valley PTA. Delightful ski area. No crowds at all. Fresh powder. Lots of little hidden nooks and crannies. Trails meandering through the forest just like I like it. Look at that. I have the mountain to myself. There's like nobody here. Nobody in the chairlift. Nobody in the slopes. This is the kind of thing I like. This is the best experience so far of the three. Sasquatch, Manning Park, and Harper Mountain here. Well, all three were good. All three were good, but this, maybe because of the really dry, fresh powder, Harper Mountain is at a low elevation, so you have to be careful. Before you come here, check the thing that they have enough snow. Up until about 2 days ago, the conditions were relatively poor, maybe only a little over a foot of snow, but now with all the fresh powder, it's beautiful. This is perfect. Those are my tracks. Yeah. It's cold and my camera kept freezing up, so I didn't record very much of the mountain. After warming up in the lodge a little, hopefully it'll be good enough for a few minutes of filming. I'm sure that the fresh powder is part of why I really like Harper Mountain. Any mountain is better when when there's fresh powder. But in addition to that, what I really like is what you can't see. You can see some of the wide open spaces here, but what you can't see is the hidden little things, the little trails that meander through the forest, and then there are some trees in the middle of some of the trails, and it's just wonderful. It's not a clear cut. It's not a straight line. It's an interesting mountain. The terrain is interesting. So I would come here anytime, gladly. But it has to be a day when there's enough snow on the ground, preferably fresh powder. There is a bit of a low elevation here. I think it's only about 5,000 feet or so. Look how powdery the snow is. Okay, mystery solved. It's actually minus 10 degrees Fahrenheit. The temperature that was shown in the lodge was minus 21 centigrade. There's a day lodge, part of it anyway. Very nice And man, it would be great to ski all this powder that nobody had skied since yesterday. But it is now about, I don't know, 11 o'clock in the morning or something. And it's still minus 27 or so. On the website last night, it said that they would open if the temperature rises above minus 30. Well, it's minus 27, but it looks like they decided not to open it anyway. Bummer. Skiing would be free for me here with the Powder Alliance Fusion Pass. Yeah. But what a ski area. It's almost all black. That over there is, in the distance, it's all double blacks. That whole mountain there is double blacks. Then in the middle, and we can't see it from here because this is the outrun, so to speak, so there's a couple of greens and a couple of blues here, but a whole lot of blacks as well. And then on the far right there, beyond the ridge, again we can't see it, there's a Tres Hombres area, because apparently three hombres went there a long time ago when it was still out of bounds. Now it's in bounds, but it's all double blacks. So double blacks there, a whole lot of blacks in the middle, and maybe a couple of blues and a couple of greens. That area up there is supposed to be all double black. Dang it. Too bad they decided to not open the ski area today. It's such a beautiful sunny day. If they had opened it, this would have been my second coldest day, because that day at Lake Louise with Kay Kinnian was definitely my coldest at minus 30. And it wasn't even as nicely warm, I mean, nicely sunny as it is here. It doesn't even feel very cold. I mean, I don't have my jacket, I don't have my hat or anything. Only my hands are feeling a little bit cold. Dang it. It's only a balmy minus 25. That's 5 degrees warmer than what they announced. Anyway, they're not opening. So my consolation prize was supposed to be to drive to Lake Louise and to Banff along this highway here. I believe that's Highway 93 or something. It's called the Icefields Parkway. So I could have been in Banff in about maybe 3.5 hours, maybe a little more if I stopped for sightseeing. And on such a beautiful day, I definitely would have a chance to do that. But they closed the road. There's been an avalanche or something, and they're clearing it up. They might open it later this evening after dark, but then I'd still have so much driving to do. So it's now, I don't know, around noonish. I lost an hour or two because Alberta is a different time zone, which means I lost an hour of daylight. It's already later, closer to sunset. But anyway, the only other way around is to go a little bit further east and north to Edmonton, and then down to Calgary. And from there, well, we'll see what happens tomorrow. stayed the night at the Rocky Mountain Ski Lodge. Nice place. Nakiska is part of the resorts of the Canadian Rockies, along with Fernie, Kimberley, and Kicking Horse. And boy, look at how high up that goes. So there are some monster glades here. Seems to be a new experience. They must have added that recently. But most of the other places around here, the trees are just too thick, too dense. It's impossible to ski at all in the trees. You just have to stay on the groomed trails. A lot of the trails are really super polished, encouraging speeding. There are a lot of people, kind of like race types, training here, coming down at super high speeds. Oh, I see. This is not really tree skiing. This is more like a mogul run set among trees. The trees themselves are still too tight to actually ski the trees. You're just skiing kind of through an opening in the trees. An opening full of moguls. The trails are also super wide and kind of boring clear cuts. So there's nothing much to do other than speed up. There's a mid-mountain lodge, but it looks like it might be closed today. There's nobody there. And of the 3 express lifts, this one is open only on weekends. So really only 2 express lifts are in constant use. The scenery is beautiful, but most of the trails are super wide. I mean, a jumbo jet could land here. Nakiska was also one of the venues for the Winter Olympics when they were held in Calgary. And they have obviously continued that tradition of racing, you know, high-speed skiing, and so on. Today there were a lot of youngsters in training, practicing their carving. So if you want to practice high-speed carving, this is a place for you. Wide open runs, all well-groomed, and it's the place for that. So there's a village way down there. After I rode this fairly steep chairlift up from the village up to here, I spotted another lift way over here. Tamarack chair. And I thought it would take me just a little ways up to that upper knoll. But boy, was I surprised. There's a whole other mountain behind this little knoll. It goes way much higher, like maybe another 2,000 feet higher. This is a very long chair. The scenery is majestic. And I believe lots of tree and powder skiing everywhere. Little trees, my favorites. Those are my tracks. Fun, fun, fun. And there's more. Then there's another easier hill over further south toward what I think is Castle Hill. More trees up there. Well, I'm loving Castle Mountain. I mean, in the day lunch, there's German sausages mit sauerkraut and all kinds of goodies. It just feels like a good, nice place. Too bad it's in the middle of like nowhere. In the winter, I mean, Montana's not far from here, but in the winter, all the roads are closed. You can't get to Montana. You have to go north first, which partly what I'm going to do. I'm going to go to Fernie, and then past Fernie, you can finally get down into Montana, or stay on Highway 3 like I'm planning to do. So, other than the remoteness, everything else about this place is just great. I love it. So, I found out that there is no real Castle Mountain around here. Actually, there is one, but supposedly further away. This mountain, this ski area was named Castle Mountain, I guess, mainly after the Castle River, which flows through here. And also, well, I asked one of the locals, and he told me all of the names of all the mountains around, and none of them were Castle. And even on Google, if you Google Castle Mountain, it'll take you to some place, I think a little bit north of Banff, within that valley, Banff. So that's kind of a little misleading. If you do a Google search for Castle Mountain, you have to add the word ski, Castle Mountain ski. Then you'll get the right place. It's near, the nearest town is called Pincher Creek, which is probably a very small town. I didn't really drive through it, but all the other places that had names that I drove through it, there hardly seemed to be any town at all, maybe a couple houses or something. So, yeah, this place is remote. But hey, no crowds. There's past Powder Keg. I got here before dark. It's about 5 o'clock now. They open at 5:30 for night skiing, so I'll have a few runs here. Well, that's the town of past Powder Keg down below. No, sorry. The town is called Blaymore. Blaymore, and past Powder Keg is the ski area that I'm now standing on top of. And we have a new moon there. If you can see it, I don't know. There. Well, so far I'm impressed with Phoenix Mountain. It's got a lot more vertical than I expected. It's got some easy groovers. And right off the top, look at these trees. Ah, ha, ha. Well, this kid befriended me and started telling me something. I couldn't even hear exactly what he was saying. His voice was muffled with a scarf. And I started following him, and he kept looking back, and I kept following him. And he took me somewhere. I swear this is out of bounds. This is next to our road that goes somewhere else. But I'm not alone here. There's 2 or 3 other people that just passed by, and there's somebody yelling down there. Yeah, and there's some tracks right here. So, what an adventure, only at Phoenix Mountain. Yes, I'm definitely out of bounds. After skiing all this stuff here, now I'm down here in a run out sort of thing. And I think that there is an out of bounds sign. And the yellow one. And there's a ski area up above it. As I said, it's bigger than I expected. Powder skiing galore here. And keeps going more and more. Yeah. Wouldn't you like to be here? Quick chicane turn there. And they have a racing program here too. Making a strong finish. Gaining speed for the finish. Hey racers, once you've done your heat, can you please turn your bib? My car was the last one in the parking lot. After me, nobody else could come. This was a busy weekend because they had a race here. So this is the first time ever that I have traveled with two sets of skis. My regular alpine touring skis from Black Diamond Stigma, and also these wide, fat K2 Pinnacle skis, and which I won thanks to a raffle, thanks to the Packard Racers. But let me tell you about waxing. I performed my regular universal waxing on my alpine touring bindings, and when the temperatures got really low down in the minus 20 or something, it was so grippy and gritty. It was like trying to ski on sand or worse. It was just too grippy. Maybe that universal wax is the wrong thing for super cold temperatures. But I had no problem with these, because these skis have a new kind of base treatment called Phantom from a company called DPS, which also manufactures skis. And this treatment penetrates deep into the ski base, and it is permanent apparently for the lifetime of your skis. So far they have performed very well. I am really happy with my Phantom base treatment. Want powder? There it is, look. Nice. Trees? Yeah, baby. And more wide open, ungroomed spaces? Oh, yeah. So I've been traversing across the top just to get a feel for the place, and I passed by literally hundreds of ways to ski down through the trees, mostly Black Diamond ungroomed. And then I came across this here, which seems to be easier, kind of intermediate trees, small trees, not terribly steep here. But look at that, that field goes on forever. And then, well, the day lodge is somewhere down there. I can't quite pinpoint exactly where. And then there's a whole other opposing hill over there. This ski area is a lot bigger than I ever expected. The smaller hill, not this one, we're looking at part of the bigger one here. The smaller hill is about 800 feet, between 800 and 900 feet vertical. The bigger hill is about 1400 vertical, and that's what we're looking at now. And man, there's a few, like, you know, groomed trails there, but there's just unlimited tree skiing, powder skiing, etc. Baldy Mountain is celebrating its 50th anniversary, just like Phoenix Mountain too. So that means that we're both started in 1969. I'm standing here on a terrain park. Notice there's nobody. Well, there's nobody on those slopes either. It's like really uncrowded. And this is on a beautiful Sunday, a sunny Sunday of all things. Well, I'll certainly be back here at the Baldy Mountain one of these days. It's not far from the U.S. border. It's only about an hour from Osoyoos, which is the first Canadian town after you cross the border. And, I'll probably want to revisit Sasquatch again. Let's see, Harper Mountain, definitely near Kamloops. A lot of good stuff. Castle Mountain I really enjoyed. So I'll be back at some of these again. I'm not sure if I really want to make it all the way back up to Jasper to ski Marmot Basin. It's just a little too far to drive, and then they charge you that national park fee even though all you want to do is ski. You're not there to sightsee. So anyway, but a lot of good stuff in Canada.